from Lazarus Recovery YouTube, and this is another in a series of the 3 words, and this is Proverbs 4. So to refresh your memory, what I do is I take 4 words out of the Proverbs and I talk about that with a recovery toward a flavor to it. So this is Proverbs 4, and so wisdom, wicked, and heart. Now, it would be nice if they were all nice, warm, fuzzy words, but if you do Bible, there's warm and fuzzy, and then there's just plain old tough truth. And so what I'm doing is I'm trying to do a balance. There's a church I used to go to, Grace and Truth. So there's plenty of grace in the Bible, but there's plenty of truth in the Bible. And it's no good if you just got grace but you don't have any truth. So Proverbs is trying to do an issue, a dose of truth and grace. So basically, the grace is that God is dependable, very dependable. What he says goes. That's good news and bad news, because what he says that's good is good and reliable, and what he says is bad news for our lesser inclinations is generally bad news. Basically it's, no, you can't get away with stuff. You can get away with it for a short time, but inevitably, eternally, you can't get away with it. There's consequences. And Proverbs talks more about the immediate consequences, the things that happen in life. And you got to remember, this was a long time ago. This wasn't YouTube time. This wasn't Facebook time. This was not even really hardly bronze time. They had pots and pans. They had some technology, but not much. It was very agrarian. It was very small town, but people were the same. Right and wrong was the same, and basically human beings were interacting, and that stays the same all the way around. So you have to understand that. Why should I read Proverbs? Because it's about people, and Proverbs could be written about recovery communities, NA, AA, CR. It could be written about the church. It could be written about a lot of things, because the one thing that's constant is people. People are the problem. People are the ones that stray away. People are the ones that are selfish. So, it might be a long time ago and the technology is different, but people are basically the same. And that's what we want to talk about in 3 words, is what Proverbs says about people. Now, well, we've talked a lot about that. Proverbs is about wisdom. It's about the thing that the way of thinking that guides you in the right path. It's the father telling the son, okay, this is the way it works. Do this, do this, do this, and good things are going to happen. Do this, 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 and bad things are going to happen. That's what he's talking about wisdom. He talked about wisdom as in the wisdom is the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. In other words, the foundation of wisdom is respect and honor and a fear of God, of his ways. In other words, we can't disrespect him and broach his suggestions and expect a good result. So wisdom is the foundation. Now in Proverbs, this line of Proverbs, he has 2 things. Wickedness, wicked. Now wicked is like, is basically, person who's inclined to do hurtful, selfish, destructive things. I mean, you could say that an active addict is wicked. You say, no, that's not, no, you don't understand. Everybody's good, they're just trapped in addiction. Well, the symptom of active addiction is wickedness, is selfishness. The symptom of wickedness in addiction is we bring trouble on everything we touch. So you're saying, well, I've never been wicked. You've been an active addict. You've cheated, you lied, you stole, you did all the stuff you do when you're active. That's wicked. And Proverbs talks about wicked as not coming out well. And how many people do you know in active addictions who stayed the whole course of it, that it came out well? There might be one who ended up in the worldly way in a decent shape, but 9 times out of 10 she ended up face down on the street in Worcester, cold as a brick. That's not nice, but that's the way it works. Have you ever seen an active addict who stays in active addiction look like they're a respectable member of society? They get done a lot of stuff. Very few. And even if the ones that are hidden addiction, eventually the addiction catches up with them. So you got to figure out that an addict, I hate to say it, an active addict is wicked. It's twisted. It's all about stuff. I mean, if you're honest and you look at a trail of your active addiction, there's a lot of bad stuff there. Very few people can be an active addiction and be a blessing. Mostly, you're a train wreck and you leave wreckage behind. And that's why you're doing steps and stuff like that now that you're not using, because you're trying to clean up and escape the guilt of all that. But you got to say, he was talking about wicked. Wicked is what active addiction is. And unfortunately, the Proverbs says that the outcome of wicked is not good. Look at what wicked people end up with, and you're going to recognize it. You think of people in active addiction, and you think of the descriptions of what wicked is said in Proverbs, and you're going to say, these guys a long, long time ago, before Facebook, before all that stuff, before anything, they had it pegged. If you're wicked, you leave a wreck behind you. So, 3 words. We have wisdom, what you're chasing. We have wicked, and the natural results of it. And then we have heart. What is the heart? They talk about the heart. The heart is the center of affection. If you have a heart after a girl, or a lady, or a man, or however you swing, you have affection, but you also have a lust and a desire. A heart, it is what your affections and your desires bend to. And the thing you have to understand is, God talks about the heart of a person. What does his affections look like? What is he looking to? What's going on in his heart? His heart is not the muscle that pumps. It is the center of affection and emotion. That's what the heart is. And God is very concerned about the state of a man's heart. Where is his heart going? What is his heart about? A person in active addiction, a drunk, an addict, whatever, there's the heart is after one thing. It is after the next drink, the next drug, and doing whatever it needs to feed that desire of his heart. His heart has been hijacked. He has peripheral things, like he loves his mom, maybe he loves his wife, he loves his kids, he loves everything, but his heart has been hijacked. There's only one primary thing, and that thing is to score, is to drink, is to get wasted. He feels guilty because his heart, his secondary heart, his other hearts are down below what he really wants. Active addiction, there's only one thing: feed the addiction. You're hijacked by, your heart is hijacked It is trapped and hijacked by the addiction. And the Proverbs talks about that. It talks about the heart and what it is about. And I think that if you go to Proverbs 4 and you read about the heart, you're going to understand that they back there understood. It's a state of the heart. And that's realized that in Proverbs they talk about the heart, but they talk about guarding your heart, guarding the center of your affections. In other words, pay attention to where your affections are. If you're an addict, and you're honest with yourself, sometimes the beginning of the step one is, admitted your powers are out of life was unmanageable. We have to admit that our heart is hijacked by the control of the addiction, of taking care of the addiction. Everything else, we want to have a heart after other things, but we have affections for other things, but it's hijacked by this overwhelming thing in our hearts. And Proverbs talks about that. Guard your heart. Guard your heart. That means, guard your affections. Don't let it get hijacked. If a person, their truck is hijacked, it means that somebody's come and taken over the truck. Well, a lot of times we allow our heart and affections to be taken over. For people in addiction, that's the addiction. For people in really codependent, difficult relationships, the relationship is hijacked about everything that's going on. We need that wisdom. People in addiction, recovering from addiction, forgive me, a person brand new sober is wise in a peanut-sized thing, but the overwhelming stuff is pretty stupid. That's why you go to meetings. So you get pounded in a little bit of wisdom. And wicked is like what we are when we're in active addiction. I don't think we want to be wicked. We just, that's the name of the game. We're hijacked by that. Wicked doesn't, in Proverbs, wicked doesn't come out well. Wickedness is just not good. And then it says, guard your heart. Guard your affections. If you're in active addictions, your affections are not guarded, they're hijacked. As you get sober, you still have to understand and guard your affections. Your affections are going to hijack you. In other words, you've got to change and monitor and put a guard on your affections. You've got to become wise about what affections are good and what affections are bad. Everybody gets sober, and it's pretty predictable. Their priority is not to drink and not to use, but then they get into a bunch of stuff, sober and clean, that is not wise. They're not guarding the quality of their affections. How many people in early recovery get into relationships that just are not good? Just aren't good. Because they're not guarding their affections. They're not growing in wisdom. They're just simply saying, well, I'm not drinking, so therefore I can be stupid and foolish. How's that working for you? Proverbs teaches that, there is no time out for stupid. When you get sober, you have to start to understand that you need wisdom, wicked, bad, because stupid causes problems. There is no grace. You get sober and say, well, I can, as long as I don't drink, everything's good. I'm good with God as long as I don't drink. Yeah, right. I'm good with gravity until I jump out of a window. Wisdom is learning not to jump out of the window. How many people jump out of the window of an early relationship to somebody who is probably sick or sicker than you, and then are mystified and upset when you collide with the ground? How many people? Wisdom is listening to people and saying, don't get into a relationship for the first year. Try a goldfish. Try a plant. If they die, that's a sign you might not be ready. But a goldfish and a plant aren't as much fun. Well, that's well and good until six months along, all of a sudden there are the natural consequences of that relationship. And then all of a sudden you need wisdom what to do, but you're not willing to pay the price. I mean, you got a child coming, it's a catastrophe. And people who listen to me are going to say yes or go screw yourself, Chuck. But they know that I'm telling the truth. Everybody that's listened to me that's in the program, if you look around, can say that, AA and NA say don't get in a relationship for the first year. They're not making a moral statement, they're not saying wait till marriage and be careful. They're saying just don't get in a relationship for the first year. That's not morality, that's just brute force common sense. That's just the basics of don't be stupid. So wisdom is being wise about the consequences. Guard your heart, your affections. Chances are if you're brand new sober, your affections are all screwed up. So guarding them means let's take it slow and easy and let's get better. Let's work some steps. Let's talk to people. Let's get a support group. Let's let other people feed back into me and make sure I'm not stupid. That if I get a bunch of people, then maybe I'll have a better chance of making good decisions. That's what you need to do. Guard your heart. In early sobriety and early recovery, guard your heart and watch out for your affections, because chances are you are just an addict who doesn't use. You're going to do the same old crap you did when you were drinking and using, except for the fact that you can't anesthetize the guilt, the pain, and the complications. So you need to be wise. You need to have people help you be wise. You need to guard your heart. You need to guard your heart. And for crying out loud, get perceptive enough to know what the wicked is. Even in NA and AA, there's certain morality. It's an AA morality and NA morality, but there's a certain morality. When they say go with the winners, at least be wise about that stuff. Try to stay within the bounds of AA and NA morality. It's not biblical morality by any stretch of the imagination, but it is wiser than active addiction stupid. And the chances are if you follow that wisdom, you're not going to get in as much trouble. It's not going to be so damaging and so permanent. Think of those 3 words. Go to Proverbs and read Proverbs 4. I'm just touching the base. I just use words and then I talk about it in some sort of a recovery frame. So, it's not perfect. Everything's not perfect, but I want you to start thinking about that. Some people in recovery use the Proverbs as a foundation for a meeting. They read Proverbs and they talk about it. I've done this earlier on. I ran a recovery program at Liberty, and that's what I did. Every week was a new proverb, and I had 3 words. I talked briefly on the 3 words, and then we had a discussion about that and anything else that was going on in people's lives. This is sort of a rehash of that. This isn't my invention. There's probably a thing at an Assemblies church in Revere that still does this stuff. If you happen to hear this and see this, and you're from Revere and you do this stuff, comment below and let me know that we're hooked up. So anyway, that's my thing on Proverbs 4. And I can never remember the 3. Wicked wisdom heart. Wicked wisdom and heart. Please have wisdom. Please shun wicked. Please guard your heart. That's it. Thank you much, and God bless. And we'll be talking to you later. Oh yeah, one other thing. I might cut this out, but I'm going to do some things on parables. Because they're a little harsh, but they're encouraging, but they're harsh. And I'd like to do some stuff on parables. So go to the homepage, to the Lazarus Cover YouTube, and hopefully eventually there'll be a bunch of series on parables.